Hello everyone, this is Neil from Edureka and welcome to this blockchain tutorial session. Now blockchain and Bitcoin are some of the most trending keywords as part of today's technology, and even those who are not familiar with cryptocurrency are quite interested in the same. And today's session will give you a complete idea with respect to both. Without wasting any time, let's move forward and look at today's agenda for the session. Now blockchain is being used highly for transaction management, and it is replacing the current existing transaction management system. If a technology is replacing the existing systems, there must be certain problems, and that's exactly what we'll be discussing at the first. Once we've understood this, let's try to discuss how Bitcoins can help solve these issues, as well as how the Bitcoin transaction takes place. Now, if a transaction has to take place, there needs to be certain medium, and that's exactly what blockchain is. Moving on from there, we'll try to talk about the various blockchain concepts, the various blockchain features, as well as we'll see where blockchain is being used apart from the banking domain. Finally, towards the later half of this session, we'll be looking at a banking use case demo where what we'll be doing is we'll try to create an alternative banking system, as well as we'll try to make it a bit better. Since you are reinventing something, let's try to make it better than anything that is there. So for that, first what we'll be doing is we'll be installing Go Ethereum, and then we'll be registering an account to Go Ethereum blockchain. Go Ethereum basically is an online blockchain system which helps you manage your cryptocurrency. Once you've done this, we'll try to create a private autonomous blockchain on our system itself, and then we'll try to perform transactions internally. Now these are mock transactions, but it'll at least give you a complete idea of how a blockchain system works as a whole. So without wasting any time, let's move forward to the first topic of this session, that is the issues with the current banking system. Now the first challenge we'll be talking about is the transactional fees. Now let's take the simple example here. When Chandler wants to send $100 to Joey, due to a transactional fees of $2, Joey ends up getting only $98. Now it may not seem a huge amount, but let's assume that every day there are 10,000 transactions that happen. And in that 10,000 transaction, even if it's a 2% commission, it's a huge amount that we're talking about. Now, if you look at what is given here, in the year 2015, three organizations, that is JP Morgan, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo, made close to 6 billion just from ATM and overdraft transaction fees. So this is a very huge amount. And most banking and financial organizations depend on these kinds of fees to have their source of income as well. Now, wouldn't we all like not to have a transaction fees? Because every transaction that we make, be it in an ATM, be it a net transfer, be it bank withdrawal, everything these days comes with a fixed transaction fees. Even though it would be a small amount, wouldn't we be happy if we could save that? Definitely, I do want to save that. So moving forward, let's talk about the next problem that is there with the existing banking system. Now this is a challenge that you would have seen if you're from a financial domain, but to those of you who have not heard of double spending before, let me put it very simply. Take the example here. Peter has $500 in his account, but what he's trying to do is that at the same time he's trying to send James $400 and Mary $500. Now if both transactions go through at the same time, then it becomes a problem to identify which is valid. Because the digital signature attached with digital transactions can be to an extent falsified and copied as well. This makes double spending quite possible and is something that is of a challenge. Now this is one challenge that most banking or digital financial solutions had faced across when they were working with online payment transactions. Apart from this, there's also the challenge of financial crisis and financial depression. Now all of us remember the depression that had happened in the year 2008. Now, to put it very bluntly, one of the key factors which led to this depression was because financial organizations and banks had actually lent out all their money as subprime mortgages to people who couldn't afford to pay them back. This in turn led to a huge fall with respect to real estate value and created a huge financial crisis for everyone who was associated with respect to that. A lot of people lost their jobs as well as money, but then again, this was something that people had done to try to get rich. So now comes the question that how can Bitcoin solve these issues? Now to understand this, let's take these four issues in itself. The first is the issue of centralized power. Now when I talk about a centralized power, every monetary system that's out there today is controlled by a central governing authority. It could be a federal body, it could be a unanimous personality, and so forth. Almost all currencies out there today are actually controlled to an extent by a central authority. However, with Bitcoin, this system got decentralized and distributed among everyone who was part of the Bitcoin system. and it keeps growing on. Let's say tomorrow you move into the Bitcoin system, then definitely you are also part of it and you hold a certain power to that as well. Now how that happens, that we'll be talking in our upcoming sessions as to how the value of Bitcoins keeps changing. But for now, let me just help you understand that anyone who becomes part of the Bitcoin and blockchain system becomes a powerful person, and the power that is held by one single authority gets distributed to everyone who's part of the network. Apart from this, most banking and financial organizations follow a private ledger. The only thing that you are aware of when you put your money into something is whether or not there's certain transaction that you have made as a person as such. You have no idea whether someone else has taken some money, whether the bank has in itself invested this money somewhere, and so forth. However, with blockchain system, the ledger in itself is public. Everyone who becomes part of this blockchain network gets a complete copy of the entire blockchain as soon as they sign up. So immediately when you sign up for the Bitcoin blockchain, you get a list of complete transactions that has happened from the start of Bitcoin transaction. Now that's a huge amount of transactions, but blockchain makes it very easy as well as completely secure to store all this transaction detail, and at the same time ensures that none of this gets manipulated. As to how this can be completely secure, we'll be talking in the upcoming slides, but I hope you get a simple understanding. Now, although it is a public ledger, you can have the complete details with respect to the transaction that happens as part of the network. You still don't know who exactly is doing this transaction. And this is the anonymity that blockchain gives you. Really neat, right? Now, the other challenge that most transaction and financial organization faces is the challenge of hacking. Every now and then we do hear that a financial organization has been hacked and certain data has been leaked, certain transaction details are released, certain amount has been stolen from their accounts, and so all this is something that we have heard every now and then. But blockchain system is completely immutable to hack. Any transaction that takes place cannot be modified ahead. And even if you try to modify it, the blockchain system is built so securely and so smartly that this false transaction detail gets rejected. Now, don't worry about how this happens. We'll be talking about that in the upcoming slides. Moving forward, coming to the final challenge, that is the double spending problem. As I had mentioned, most financial organizations that have a digital platform have faced the challenge of double spending. Through blockchain system, double spending is not possible. And this is basically because of how the blockchain system in itself was structured and created. Now, the double spending problem was something that was faced quite popularly at the time when the blockchain system was becoming popular. Keeping this in mind, they had structured the blockchain system in such a way that even in future, the challenge of double spending can be completely tackled without any problem. Until date, you do not have any transaction that was part of the double spending issue. Now, the first challenge that we had spoken about was the transaction fees. Now, today there are close to 650 different kinds of cryptocurrency, but most of them don't even charge a minimal transaction fees. You can transfer your money from one account to the other account at no transaction charge. But let's say if you do wish to add a specific transaction charge, you can do that. There are certain cryptocurrencies that do follow a specific transaction fees, but this is comparably minute when you see the transaction fees that is associated to a bank transaction. So since all of you have understood till here,